Welcome to Entry Point Faith. Join us each week to discover fresh meaning in the world and find faith your way. Now, here is Pastor Nancy Lafferty.
A few months ago, I read an incredibly startling statistic. I don't even like numbers. I don't like statistics, but this one grabbed me. Over the entire lifetime of America, for the past 247 years, our country has been involved in a series of wars. In fact, it has really only been 17 years of our entire history without being engaged in a war. That is remarkable. And today it feels like that. It feels like we are in the middle of not only physical war, but we are in the middle of a social war. We need some peace. We need to stop fighting. We need to figure out how to get along with each other on this planet. Now, I realize I can't deliver a message today that is going to cause all of the nations of the world to suddenly stop fighting and listen and set aside all conflicts and ride off into the sunset. Man, I wish I could. But what I would like to see happen is that we find a way, at least on the local level, what we have control over, to stop so much fighting. Let's start with Facebook. In our neighborhoods, in our streets, in our groups of friends, in our volunteer organizations, in our churches. Telling everyone to stop fighting is not going to cause it to happen any more than a parent telling kids to stop fighting or a teacher telling a classroom to stop fighting. But offering a solution to the bickering might help. Changing a mindset might bring about peace. So that's what I'm going to do today. The point to which we have all become so polarized is absolutely staggering. I know you feel it. It is all around us. Every single issue, every single news item is filtered through politics now. Every single issue comes back to how you vote, how you think about how you vote. And we just keep bantering back and forth. Family relationships are strained. People have distanced from each other. Friendships are severed. Romances break up when we just can't accept each other's differences. It's just a difference of opinion. We have reached a critical point here, my friends. I see this not only as a social problem, but a spiritual problem. We do not see each other clearly anymore. We divide people into two groups: those who agree with me and those who don't. Us versus them. Now, the very first time, I've told you this story one other time, but I'm going to say it again. The very first time I encountered that phrase, us versus them, I was about 6 or 7 years old. I was sitting next to my mother at the dining room table. She was getting ready. She was the scorekeeper in the card game, and my mother and father always played a card game against my aunt and uncle every Friday evening, and she was getting the scoreboard ready. So I watched her draw a line down the middle, and on the right-hand column write the word us, and across the left-hand column write the word them. And I said, why did you do that? Why didn't you just write their names at the top? She goes, it's just easier this way. I'm not sure it's easier this way anymore, Mom. I don't think dividing into us and them is the right approach anymore. So when did this us versus them mentality begin? How does it begin? I think the most likely answer to that is competition. When one person or one group is facing off in some sort of competition. My team versus your team. My third grade class against your third grade class in the spelling bee. My neighborhood against your neighborhood. My city versus your city. My country versus your country. My candidate versus your candidate. Things get a little more sinister when we perceive that our group is in direct competition with another group over a limited resource. When that happens, we are likely to experience hostility toward members of that group. And then the division becomes clearer. People are either like us, the good guys, or they're one of them, and they are the bad guys. Walter Kaufman has captured this feeling very, very well with these words. Righteousness, intelligence, integrity, humanity, and victory are the prerogatives of us, while wickedness, stupidity, hypocrisy, and ultimate defeat belong to them. This quotation is a critical observation of the barbaric way that humans treat each other. When we place people into the mental category of the other, we end up right at the heart of bullying. All human beings have the capacity to compartmentalize certain people as others and set them in a category apart from ourselves, thus creating beautiful psychological distance between them and us. And understandably, when someone's not like us, they are automatically an other. And when they are an other, they are truly alien to us. And therefore, they are not extended the same empathy or compassion that we normally extend to our peers. Psychologist Daniel Goleman has written these words: once the others are set at a psychological distance, they can become a target for hostility. Once we've completely dehumanized and identified someone as an other and not one of us, our minds begin to build evidence against the other with each unflattering media depiction. Now, because of a phenomenon called conformational bias, we pay more attention, of course, to negative information about this person or group, which confirms our negative stereotypes while ignoring and tuning out anything that's positive about that group. We assign them hostile intent, sinister thoughts, evil motives, and all sorts of other things that we may have drummed up in our minds. Goleman also writes, the gulf that divides us from them builds with the silencing of empathy. The silencing of empathy. And across that gulf, we are free to project onto them whatever we like. That's why people can become bullies. They have no more empathy for the others. That's why there is genocide around the world. Without empathy, any degree of cruelty is acceptable. So how do we move beyond that? How do we get past us versus them? How in the world do we bridge a gap and close the great divide between us? I would like to offer two solutions to this problem, neither one of which is easy. It is a lifelong approach to attempting to do these things. The first one, as Carol so eloquently said in her prayer, the first one is easy to say and hard to do. We need to see each other, every human being, as a child of God. Every person is a human being who was created by God and deserves my respect, my compassion, and my grace. Some people are really difficult to love. I get that, especially when they don't agree with me. But I have been asked to love even my enemies. And I have to try to find a way to overlook our disagreements and to find what is good about each person. And just because somebody doesn't view the world the way that I do doesn't really make that person wrong. I want to believe that. But we have to learn to coexist with differing opinions. One of the ways to grant each other the status of child of God is to truly allow each person to have his or her own opinion and worldview. When we're scrolling through Facebook, this is a secret, we don't have to weigh in on every single post. I know that's news. We don't have to comment, whether we agree or disagree. Choosing not to engage in a conversational thread about a highly charged topic is a gift that we can extend. I also learned this. Nobody's opinion on Facebook is going to be changed because of a thread of conversation. They're just not going to change. They're going to dig their heels in deeper. We don't have to post our own personal opinions. We don't have to try to tell somebody they're wrong, because now the whole conversation has shifted and people defend themselves instead of talk about the issue. We don't have to understand it. We just need to see that person as an individual with a different opinion. Different. It's not our job to correct or advise or tell other people how to think or act. It is not our job. It is our job to love them. We can agree to disagree, period. The second solution to our bickering is this. A little easier, still difficult. Instead of focusing on what we disagree about, we need to find what we have in common. This is something that the theater community does really well. We are a widely diverse group of people. We are very different racially, culturally, politically, and spiritually. Yet we have a strong commonality that keeps us working together and treating each other fairly, respectfully, compassionately. We all love making the product of theater. So we don't focus on the ways that we are different. Instead, we focus on the ways we are the same. The things we have in common strengthen us as we work on a project together. And as we work together, we find more reasons to care about and support each other. I also believe our Entry Point faith community has done the same thing. We give each other a pretty wide berth around here. We respect each other's differing opinions, and we don't feel like it's our job to correct. Let's try to extend that goodness and that grace to other people. In Romans, we find this very simple verse. Do all you can to be at peace with everyone. Do all you can, do your best, to be at peace with everyone. My friends, let's try to do that. It's my prayer that we will view each other as children of God, deserving of respect and compassion and grace, as well as to try to focus on what we have in common instead of our differences. Amen.
Thanks for listening in on this week's discussion on Entry Point Faith. You can join the Entry Point Faith community in person every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. at Conner Prairie in Fishers, Indiana. For more information and a transcript of Nancy's messages, visit entrypointonline.org. Entry Point Faith is brought to you in partnership with mypodcast.media.